Yeah. Good afternoon, folks. This is Deb Delapena, and this is your short take. You know what? I have a lot of videos I want to make. I got a list right here, a little pad of paper there. But I want to start here because I'm growing more and more irritated and tired about the verbiage, the chatter, and the lies in this nation about immigration, about the status of our immigration at the border, about the number of people coming over the border, and about the character of the people coming over the border, because all we ever hear from Donald Trump is that there are millions filing in every day. Let me clear something up. First of all, the number of undocumented immigrants in the United States is somewhere around 10 million. And we have 350 million people in the United States. That does not sound like the great replacement theory is doing much good at this point. That is about 3% of the American population. Okay? So let's get that straight. And the notion that we are it's easy to immigrate into America, that's not true either. There's reams and reams of paperwork to fill out. You are actually tracked when you get here and you're waiting for approval. None of this is easy. And maybe that's why some of these people don't come in that way. So when we talk about immigration reform in the United States, it's not just keeping people out, because I'm going to state it right now, this country is full of racists. Right now, they have been empowered by a government that is full-on xenophobic, racist, and white nationalist. The GOP is not the party of old. This party is despicable. Their lies about the border, their lies about Joe Biden having an open border policy could not be any more false. And their lies about everybody coming in is a criminal or escaping from a mental asylum or a rapist is a fucking flat out lie. Okay? Let's talk about the despicable immigrants that came here back in the Christopher Columbus days. Let's talk about that, because in this particular country where we now reside, where we claim to be American, Native Americans were here. Archaeological and genetic evidence shows that the Native Americans were here. What is it now? From 23,000 to 35,000 years before Columbus ever set sail for the New World. And by the way, Rick Santorum, another degenerate former Republican legislator who said there was no culture here before the white man, that's a lie too. American natives actually did have culture, okay? And we see it every day in the United States. But no one ever talks about the murderous, rapist immigrants that came here serving the Queen of Spain. The people who came here and literally wiped out an entire culture of Native Americans, raped their women, killed their children in front of them. We're not going to talk about that. Instead, we're going to teach our students in classroom that the Native Americans were the savages. They weren't the savages, frankly. They were willing to share the land. It was the white man that didn't want them here anymore because they wanted it all for themselves. That's a fucking historical fact. Nobody ever talks about any of this. We start our American history and we're arguing over whether or not we should teach slavery. And I agree with that. We ought to teach slavery. We ought to teach that after we settled here, we also went off to Africa and stole people from their own land so they could come over here and serve the white man. And that's a fact too. But that all happened after we butchered the people who were already here. Do we understand that? No one ever talks about that. No one talks about how those who were left over have been shoved off onto reservations. And no one ever talks about the Indian schools that were here, where we stole their children from the parents and put them in boarding schools so we could make them American and beat their culture out of them. This is all a fact of fucking history, okay? It's a fact of history. It's a fact of history that Christopher Columbus wasn't a great guy, and he wasn't a genius, and he didn't discover America because it was sitting right the fuck here, being lived on by Native Americans, real Native Americans. Let me give you one example of just the charm that the immigrants showed coming here from white Europe. The Lenni Lenape tribe had been living in New York for 10,000 years, at least. You know, so we swindled the land off them because they didn't understand all that high finance stuff. We swindled the land off them. And then when they didn't leave fast enough because they didn't understand that they actually had to leave, we literally raided them at night. We killed their children. We took their children. We killed them in front of their parents. We cut them up. Some of the children they threw in the river. Their parents went in to save them, and the settlers wouldn't let them come out. They allowed them to drown. They just left their bodies there, okay? They disgraced their lands, and they left their bodies there, just like that, in pieces. Some of them were just thrown in piles on the land, not in the water. We're real charmers. I don't want to hear one more fucking comment about the people coming into this country. The people coming into this country are coming here because they think this is a better opportunity for their families. There's a story, and I will go into this in more depth. I'm going to stop this in the next couple of minutes. There's a story of an immigrant family who literally trekked here from another country. It took them months to get to the United States. Months. Sleeping on cardboard in jungles on the way over. Trekking through water with their 2 children and a dog. And then we have the unmitigating gall to stand here and call them savages and call them criminals and call them rapists. You know what? I got some bad news for you, honey. Maybe some of them are, but there are plenty of those in the United States, too. We've seen it with all the shootings and everything else that goes on around here. Rape is like, I don't know, a cottage industry in the United States, especially if you live on a college campus, apparently. So let's not even go there. Let's not go there when, you know what? Once again, when Donald Trump and his fucking mental midget losers talk like that about immigrants, what they're trying to do is, you know, appeal to your basest possible human instincts. And he has been successful. But the fact of the matter is that you are listening to the words of a man who has already been convicted of rape, who has already got a guilty verdict in being a swindler in the state of New York, and a man who still faces 91 criminal counts. That's the man that you are listening to about who exactly is a criminal in the United States. Am I right? Am I getting that? Am I missing that? So I'm kind of really sick and tired of the whole immigrant thing. My grandparents were immigrants. They came here and opened a little convenience store right next to their house back in the day. Yeah, they came here and stole your opportunity. You know what? I'm tired of hearing it. And we are actually going to be putting together a series on immigrants that's going to talk first. The first video is going to be, first of all, the lies that are being told by the GOP, and just exactly how many people are coming over the border, and just exactly what the process is to become an American citizen. It is not easy. It is not easy. And then from there, we're going to talk about just how hardworking they are. Did you know the New York skyline was designed by immigrant architects? Eric Trump wants you to believe that his father built the New York skyline, but he didn't build a fucking thing in New York until 1967. And that skyline was here long before Donald Trump was. Built by immigrants. Irish immigrants living in cardboard shacks, no heat, no water, no place to go to the bathroom but outhouses. Made the copper barons of Butte, Montana, wealthy men, and they died young in their minds. We're going to talk all about that so everybody really understands just what immigrants have done for this country. I will talk to you all later.